Good evening, horror movie lovers of the interwebs. I am Alexa, resident Ookie Spooky Girly, and also a huge horror media lover. With Christmas right around the corner, I'm already slightly in the spirit, but I'll always make time to watch a good horror flick. Question for you all, what was your favorite horror movie that came out this year? I think I'm partial to Five Nights at Freddy's, but hey, let me know your answer in the comments, and also stay tuned until the end of today's video for another edition of comment section shoutouts. On that note, folks, welcome to the top 5 terrifying upcoming 2024 horror movies. Number 5, Terrifier 3. Well, with a name like Terrifier, I obviously had to kick off today's list with this one. I will fully admit, I don't really love like slasher and gory films outside of Repo the Genetic Opera, but what I have seen of Art the Clown, from a friend of mine who cosplays him very well, I enjoy the character. Speaking of, the chaotic clown man, for those who might not be aware, director Damien Leone first brought Art the Clown to life in 2008's The Ninth Circle, before giving him the spotlight in 2011's Terrifier. Yep, the first one, a short film following a young woman who witnesses one of the villain's killings. After appearing in All Hallows Eve, Leone adapted Terrifier into a feature-length film in 2016, with the clown stalking 3 young women on Halloween night. How'd you know? It's trashy in the best ways, featuring a jaw-dropping upside-down kill, and as most good flicks do, leaves the audiences craving more. So, enter Terrifier 2, last year's most shocking horror movie, responsible for, fainting and upchucking across movie theaters worldwide. It even got to the point where one of the film's producers took to Twitter to issue a warning about graphic violence and brutal depictions of horror. So, what can we expect from the threequel, other than the obvious gory mayhem? Well, for starters, Terrifier 3 is set to be released on October 25th of 2024, just in time for Halloween. According to the director, he had a part 3 in mind when writing part 2, since there are so many questions brought up in part 2 that aren't answered, and that was part of the design because he knew he was going into a part 3. I love a good cohesive moment. With filming due to start within the next month, Damien pretty much has the entire treatment ready for part 3, but apparently it's getting so big that it could potentially split into a part 4 because he wouldn't want to make another 2-hour and 20-minute movie. Hey look, I think I speak for all ADHD people when I say thank you for that, because movies constantly being so long is keeping me from seeing them in theaters when I know paying attention for that long is a nightmare. Trust me, Endgame? Whew, not fun for me. David Howard Thornton, who plays Art the Clown, and Lauren Levera, who plays Sienna by the way, are among the cast that are expected to return, so yay! We can also expect to see the return of Emily McLean as the little pale girl who debuted in the sequel and stole every scene she was in. As for Victoria, she wasn't in the best state in Terrifier 2's post-credit scene, so maybe she'll also return. Also, according to Wikipedia, it's a Christmas-themed slasher this time around, so that should be interesting to watch in bits and pieces. Speaking to Deadline, Priscilla Smith of The Coven said of the threequel, there will be a much bigger budget this time around, which is intended to give the filmmakers more creative freedom and let them be as wild as they can be. And all jokes aside, we are going for that Oscar. I support it. The flick, once again, is expected to arrive in theaters just in time for Halloween, and some of the first looks at the film were also shared by the director on his Instagram, giving a behind-the-scenes glimpse of Art the Clown in a redness-soaked Santa Claus variation of his sinister clown costume. Merry Christmas, everybody! 'Tis the season. Number 4, Imaginary. So Imaginary is an upcoming American supernatural horror film directed by Jeff Wadlow and co-written with Greg Erb, Jason Ormland, and Bryce McGuire. The film stars DeWanda Wise and Betty Buckley and is produced by Wadlow and Jason Blum through his Blumhouse Productions banner, which if you don't know Blumhouse Productions, you should. The film is scheduled to be released by Lionsgate on March 8th of next year and was filmed before this year's strikes, which I'm so glad ended with happy unions. The current plot we know of claims that after Jessica returns to her childhood home with her family, she finds that her youngest stepdaughter Alice has grown attached to her old stuffed bear named Chauncey. That's a fun name. After the games that Alice and Chauncey are playing turn sinister and Alice's behavior becomes concerning, Jessica intervenes only to realize Chauncey is not just a stuffed bear. So, Toy Story 2 gone wild. According to the director, DeWanda has been more than a star in this movie. She's been a full creative partner. So much of horror grows out of our most basic fears from when we're young, and DeWanda taps into all of that. You know that old saying that the audience's imagination is scarier than any movie? They're gonna put that to the test. So unlike Terrifier 3, thanks to Five Nights at Freddy's, we do have a trailer for this flick for more information. Well, kinda. The trailer, a theaters-only promo, begins with a young voice asking, "Hi, wanna play a game with me?" Close your eyes and use your imagination. As footsteps, doors creak, and the unsettling chirr of toys whirl across the theater's 7.1 surround system, the Imaginary team is betting that what viewers conjure up in their minds is gonna be just as scary as what the film could show. Which, hey, my imagination does go wild, I get it. While the trailer is mostly a black screen, a few visuals flash across the screen as the young narrator invites viewers to open their eyes. Among them, a missing person poster, some demonic figures, and what appears to be a door horror-filled funhouse. But there's also a practical reason for why the first look at Imaginary is so devoid of actual footage from the film. The same week FNAF premiered, Broadco asked Lionsgate if they could whip up a preview spot for Imaginary. The Lionsgate team pitched the idea of an audio-centric teaser, and within 24 hours, it was a reality. According to them, the distribution team moved heaven and earth to put the trailer on screens in the same week. This was all according to Carrie Moore, Lionsgate's co-president of worldwide theatrical marketing. She added that, sometimes constraint becomes the mother of invention. And hey, that's just having ADHD in a nutshell, folks. Time wasn't the only restriction, though. According to Moore, Lionsgate had already been cooking up a trailer, with visual effects due to be delivered on November 1st. But with FNAF opening a few days before, the team behind Imaginary thought, what can we do with what we've got? Knowing what we can deliver. How do we create an experience for audiences that introduce the concept of that playful imaginary friend, but also brings in the idea of, this is real, and this is scary. Sadly for the folks at home, the first glimpse of Imaginary is limited to those who go to the movie theater. So I guess I really, gotta find time to go see FNAF again soon. According to Moore, they never really considered putting it online. It was always an in-theater piece, but they'll come back with an online piece that is more structured and designed to reach an audience wherever they're consuming content, whether it's on their phone, or on their laptop, or in a theater. You want to create opportunities to reward theatricality and moviegoers, and to surprise and delight. And this was a nice chance to do that. Apparently a fuller look at Imaginary will be released soon, as Moore hints that a more traditional trailer setting the stakes of the film will arrive in the next month or so. So, yay! A Christmas present. I'll be waiting on the edge of my seat. Number 3, The Watchers. From the daughter of the incredibly talented M. Night Shyamalan comes the next generation of horror. Hopefully. I'm optimistic. The Watchers is an American supernatural horror film written and directed by Ishana Night Shyamalan, based on the novel of the same name by A.M. Shine. It stars Dakota Fanning, which if you don't know, she's incredibly talented, and Georgina Campbell. Filming took place from July until September of this year, thanks to a strike interim agreement, and is scheduled to be theatrically released by Warner Brothers Pictures on June 7th of next year. Oh, you wanted the plot. Right. Allow me to deliver. 28-year-old artist Mina gets stranded in an expansive, untouched forest in Western Ireland. Upon finding shelter, she unknowingly becomes trapped alongside 3 strangers who are watched and stalked by mysterious creatures each night. Terrifying monsters and roommates you've never met before? Honestly, it's hard to say which one seems scarier. On paper, The Watchers sounds a whole lot like the type of thrillers M. Night Shyamalan has specialized in since he started working exclusively on low-budget projects, many of which revolve around strangers being trapped in the same location and tormented by mysterious forces and, as such, by extension, M. Night himself. Will Ishana also share her dad's fondness for taking, tried and true thriller tropes and flipping them on their heads, often to subversive and polarizing effect? It's a good question, and part of what makes her directing debut so intriguing. That and the possibility that, much like her father, the filmmaker won't be afraid of straying from her adaptation source material in dark and twisted ways. I'm so excited to see what comes of this. Also, I'm always a fan of seeing female-led productions. Let's go! Number 2, Baghead. So this flick is set to follow a man named Kevin who encounters a shape-shifting witch known as Baghead who can give him the answers he seeks. Alright. It is the feature-length directorial debut from Alberto Corredor, who previously directed a short film by the same name back in 2017. The film stars The Witcher's Freya Allen, along with Treadstone's Jeremy Irvine, with Saffron Burrows and Peter Mullen also among the cast list. It is expected to be released in February, making it possibly the first movie on today's list to be released next year. Do we know a lot about it right now? Sadly, not as much as I wish, but I wasn't gonna let that limit me and keep the title off of today's list. I love when successful short film directors get the chance to really flesh out their concepts and bring them to the big screen, particularly when Hollywood took a chance on David Sandberg back in 2016 by allowing him to turn Lights Out into a full-length feature, which was also a smash hit. That film had its world premiere at the Los Angeles Film Festival on June 8th back in 2016 and was released in the US and Canada on July 22nd by Warner Brothers. The film received positive reviews from the critics, with many praising the direction, screenplay, acting, cinematography, and musical score. And if we're just gonna talk numbers, it grossed $148 million against a budget of $4.9 million. So if that's any indication of what could come from this director's full-length directorial debut, I'll be there on opening night. Number 1, Longlegs. Nicolas Cage's time in horror movies continues next year with Longlegs, which is rumored to be in the vein of classic Hollywood psychological thrillers, which I love. This new movie from director Oz Perkins, the director of Gretel and Hansel, stars fellow horror movie regular Maika Monroe from It Follows as well. Monroe will play FBI agent Lee Parker as she attempts to crack the case on an unresolved serial killer case she has a special connection to. Nicolas Cage plays the elusive serial killer, but other Longlegs cast members include Vanessa Walsh and Blair Underwood. According to Cage, this movie is going to depict him as a character who hears voices and makes dolls, comparing himself to a cursed Geppetto. Longlegs is apparently already rated R for, BLOODY violence, disturbing images, and some language. In February of this year, Neon acquired the film's North American rights at the European film market. Now, the movie does not yet yet have an official release date, but it's already finished whenever Neon wants to put it in theaters. Fingers crossed we hear more soon about this flick, because anything with the promise of a doll maker concept has my attention. Back when I was in high school and super obsessed with Criminal Minds, the episode where the killer turns all of her victims into living dolls had my complete attention. I watched it so many times I had it memorized for a while. And that brings us to the end of our list, which means it's time for more comment section highlights. To kick us off, from top 5 disturbing things seen by space satellites, user Maven0666 said, "Go faster, Alexa, I understand everything you say. Check out the monoliths that showed up in random places all over. There are 5 of them, I think. There's about 160,000 reports and they've only released a few. I think the island disappears under the water as the tide rises and comes back when it goes back down seasonally. It's a Russian pentagram practical joke. No snow. I concur. The structures are probably going to end up being Viking buildings. Very well done, Alexa. Very impressive." Why, thank you, Maven. I will absolutely have to look into those monoliths more, for sure. And from the same video, user The Hike Chose Me said, "Well, the American government did admit to recovering aliens from Roswell, so..." And once again, I rest my case. Alrighty folks, that's the end of our time. If you enjoyed my ramblings today, could you help us out by giving this video a like, subscribing if you aren't already, hit the bell for more horror movie content from us here at Top 5 Scary Videos, and I'll see y'all next time, you lovely spooky people.